a lot of what's happening here is a chance for people to compare notes and share updates on implementations. I'm not going to say much about either of those right now because there's a block of time over lunch to talk about quick updates from all the different containers on where they are, and if you have questions about what's the same or different. So what I want to close with is my perception of what's going right and what's still too hard. Because that's what I'm hoping today helps us address. And as people have questions and as we go through the topics, if you're hearing something that's hard that you're not seeing us address in this community, holler, let us know that here's a hard problem. It's still sitting there. So first, what's going right? I talked about it already. I read the numbers. That's a sign that we're doing something that users want, right? The users are enjoying the benefits of this work. And then I look at the progress on the spec and the implementations and all that. And yeah, there's a lot of things going right there. I'm very happy about that. Things that I think are still too hard. I think the coding model as an application developer is too limited and too hard. It's a good coding model, but there's only one way to build applications. They have this if you are comfortable building that style of application, very JavaScript intensive for most of your logic, you don't want to have to lean on a server at all. If you want to build that kind of application, it's a great coding model, but it's the only one you've got. That's too hard. There are other coding models that many of you have told us, some of you politely, you would like to see added to your bag of tricks when you're building apps. And as you'll hear today, I think the next topic after I sit down is going to be walking through the RESTful APIs, which adds a whole new programming model that you can mix and match with today's. And then after lunch, Evan, you're doing a session on the template language. So there's earlier stage conversations about, hey, what would a template language look like in this context? That adds a third bag of tricks to the programming model. And one of the things that I think the community has done a nice job on is evolving all three so it's mix and match. So you don't have to say, oh, I like programming this way or I like programming that way. So you really can have a whole set of things and doing it in a way where as a container implementing it, the reference implementation makes it easy. You don't have to implement 3 platforms to support flexible application development. So it's feeling like it's coming together well. So that's an area that I think is too hard now, but it's getting better. Another area that I think is too hard is it's too hard to balance the needs of security and user experience right now. That's always hard. That's one of those fundamental things that in computer science you always have this trade-off between security and convenience. I want to push that curve. If you picture the security convenience curve, we want to push the whole curve up and to the right. And some of the work that's going on with Caja will result in that happening. It's a hard problem. That's not one that I would hold my breath on at any point, although it's making great progress and we have a model that team's excited about, but it's not one that's going to change things overnight. Third thing that I think is too hard is tools for application developers. I think if you're an application developer, there's still a little too much, of stone knives going on in building OpenSocial applications. It's slowly getting better. There's some shared stuff. I think that I expect that over lunch and over various conversations, as you all compare notes on what you're doing in practices, there may be some great ideas on things that can be centralized, that can be stuck into some community shared format. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I just have the sense that whenever we end up in a small room with 2 or 3 different app developers and they compare notes, they both learn something. That means that we have not yet created the shared knowledge at the level that it can be. And then the last one that I think is still too hard is writing applications to run on many containers. Our goal was to, we said we want to get as close as possible to write once, run anywhere, but we thought it would start out being closer to learn once, and write everywhere. It's in between. It's better than I feared it would be. Again, the data I hear from those of you who have built applications to run on many containers is supporting the first container is a project, supporting the second one is a couple hours, supporting the third one is an hour. That's pretty good. But it was hard to figure out how to do that. There's a little bit of lore involved in the same way there used to be lore on different, in the bad old days of the 12 different kinds of Unix, and now of the 14 different versions of HTML, right? There's too much magic that people still are individually learning. That's one that I think is too hard, and I think that that's one. So that's my list. I'm gonna shut up in just a minute. I just want to repeat where I started, right? we've got 200 million users with 20,000 developers, 8 million daily Canvas views. You all are doing some great stuff around bringing social applications to lots of users in lots of places, getting lots of traffic for your applications, getting lots of traffic for your containers, whatever you represent. And we, meaning any one person, are not in charge of this. You know, there's a bunch of us who are trying to facilitate it and make it happen, but if there's something that's not going the way as well as you, or in the direction you think you want it to go, there are lots of ways to jump in, and it will change what happens in 0.9 and 1.0 and beyond that. All right, I took enough time here. If people have questions for me or Evan, because we can jump right back in. The next thing on the agenda is to go finish up talking about 0.8 and then go into the 0.8 JavaScript, that is, and then go into the 0.8 RESTful. Wore everyone out. All right. Evan.